There's one big mistake that almost everyone besides elite sim racers is doing, which is costing you tons of lap time during a race.
This problem is subtle and is tied around that delta bar that you're using. Most of us are using it wrong. Let's imagine a pro driver that's doing a mistake in turn 1 and he just lost 3/10. What a less experienced driver will try to do is push harder for the whole lap to gain that time back, except the pro, which will do the opposite. You can't expect to get it back by pushing harder in the other corners unless you were not at the limit in the first place. It's impossible to recover after a big error and set a faster lap time by chasing that delta bar. Most of the time, drivers will try to fix one corner mistake by brute forcing their way for the remaining of the lap, which leads to them losing even more time. No one says you can't go quicker, but you might need to change your technique. And changing that during a race is like flipping a coin. If it doesn't work, you end up losing even more.
If you're already driving at the limit of your current technique, well, the time you lost in a corner is gone.
So instead of focusing on the delta bar with the intention of getting that time back, elite sim racers understand there's no way to make up for the time lost since they were already at the limit in their best lap that the delta is comparing to. A practical tip that might help dealing with this overdriving issue is to set your delta bar to compare against sectors. In this way, if you did a mistake in sector 1, when you get to sector 2, you won't see the delta of the previous sector. This acts like a fresh reset that can help you overcome the issue of pushing too hard and making you better at recovering after a big mistake, giving you more clarity and purpose.
Another big difference between novice and elite sim racers is how they approach their first lap.
If you're losing positions at race starts or you're getting into incidents, getting used with driving when the grip levels are lower is a big step in overcoming that. Faster drivers are practicing the cold tires lap often, and in iRacing with the active reset features, it's incredibly easy to do it. You just have to save the car's position after exiting the pits, complete one lap and then reset back. You can then repeat this process, each time trying to set a faster cold tires lap. You'll get comfortable with pushing at the limit your car and it will make your races a lot easier.
Quick sim racers can't experience the G-forces as in real life, but there's something else that they're using to know that they're at the grip limit.
Turn the volume up and listen to the differences between these two attempts. As you could notice, the pitch in the tire noises of the quicker lap is never dropping, whereas the slower lap has the volume going up and down. When that happens, it just means that he's not at the limit everywhere. The easiest way to think about it is to imagine you're singing a song with your tires through all the corner faces, entry, mid and exit. So the practical advice here is to bump up the tire sounds and listen carefully when you're driving. If the tires become silent even for a tiny bit, that's how you know you could push more.
From time to time, even elite sim racers will go past the grip limit. For the majority of sim racers, that will result in a spin, but good racers are able to recover after a mistake.
You don't see them spinning when going past the limit because they've mastered car control. And you can do it too. Being able to catch a slide will give you a big confidence boost because no matter what happens, you know you'll be able to recover. For cars without ABS, the simplest correction is adding brake and throttle at the same time, which will give your rear tires the chance to bite back while having the fronts locked. If we do have ABS, that won't work, so we have to induce understeer and countersteer at the same time. We can induce understeer either with the brake release or with adding a bit of throttle. timing the downshifts with turning into the corner can make you spin. Therefore, being careful not only at your inputs but also at the timing of those inputs is another thing to focus on. Honestly, spinning the car on purpose and then trying to catch it back is a great practice for developing car control and gaining more confidence on track.
The very quick sim racers can almost see the future because they understand to a deeper level the tire model. If you can predict what's gonna happen in a corner based on the previous corner just because you put a lot of focus into knowing how the tires behave, that's a big advantage.
For example, in F3, if you brake too hard, you will overheat the tire and you'll have a lot less grip. Even though you can brake harder in some corners, it's better not to. That's how F3 tires work in iRacing. For cars with ABS, leaning too much into ABS by going past 80% brake force will overheat the surface level temperature of the tires, while the core temperature will remain the same. This difference in core surface temps will make that the tire will have less grip. Another example, in MX5 Cup, you should slide that car all over the place to be quick, so the balance is mostly oversteering. If you're understeering in that car by rotating just with the steering wheel and not with the brake, then you'll cook your front tires and the car will be extremely slow since you won't have enough front end grip. You must make then a priority learning the tire model for your specific car or specific sim, either from more experienced racers or by testing it yourself and noticing what works and what doesn't. After a stint, go check your tires. Some sims have in-game tools to clearly see that, but there are also some third-party apps like Garage61 where you can check the data to understand if you're pushing the tires a bit too much.
One last difference between experienced and inexperienced drivers is, in my opinion, their attitude towards racing.
Crashes happen at all levels, but it's up to you if you're choosing to be bitter about it or to learn something from that, even when it's not your fault. Who do you think is at fault here? When you get into a crash, it doesn't really matter who's at fault. That won't give you your race back. A better mindset is to put yourself in both perspectives and see what could have been done differently to avoid the crash. In this instance, the driver from the green car could have noticed a bit earlier than the driver on the inside is braking way too early. When you're closing that fast on another driver under braking, you have to be quicker with your reactions. On the other hand, the driver on the inside should learn that braking that early is dangerous, especially whenever you have someone behind. If you don't learn anything from your crashes, then nothing will change.
If you work on those 6 tips, I can guarantee you will get closer to those quickest drivers. And if you want to take it a step further, you can check out my simracing course on getgoodracing.com. Anyways, thanks for watching, thanks for sticking around. If you enjoyed this type of content, feel free to subscribe, and I'm looking forward to see you in the next one. Bye bye!